Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. Karen was smiling to herself while staring at the mirror in her hotel room, combing her uneven red hair. Afterwards she applied some makeup on her face to try her best to look as Y as she could possibly be. Ever since Sasuke's ex-teammates came to show up at their hideout, they convinced them to come back to Konoha with them and Sasuke finally agreed. Karen didn't like it at first because she noticed the pink-haired girl named Sakura kept looking at Sasuke, and when they first approached them, she gave him a hug but Sasuke didn't hug her back. Or pushed her away, which made Karen boil up in anger, but all of that vanished when after a few minutes later, Sasuke was acting cold towards the girl. Now everyone is currently in their own room for the night, resting so they could continue on their journey to Konoha the next day. Karen was thankful to get her room right next to the Sasuke Uchiha. Karen waited until she knew that everyone else was asleep, using her chakra, but the only ones who were still awake besides her was her Sasuke and that pink-haired freak. Karen began to feel Sakura's chakra getting closer and closer, so Karen stood up from her seat and quickly walked over to her door and was about to open it but stopped her actions when she heard a light knocking, following a door opening. Karen decided not to open her door up just yet and placed her ear on her door to listen it, but she couldn't hear anything, then heard the door closed. Curiosity took the best out of Karen as she silently opened up her door and carefully walked over to Sasuke's door and placed her ear on his door, making her turned on just knowing the fact that Sasuke was just in the next room. Will this hurt? Karen heard Sakura asked out, wondering what the hell she was talking about. Of course it will, Sasuke responded while Karen couldn't help but smile out. Oh my god, he's going to kill the bitch. I have got to watch this to see how it turns out. Damn right she deserves it, thinking that she could hug my Sasuke. Karen thought to herself as she placed her hand delicately on the doorknob and slowly tried to move it. Damn, why the hell did he decide to lock the door? Arg, this is so frustrating. But wait, I can look through the window. Muhahaha, such a smart plan. When Sasuke finds out what I have thought of, he will want to ravish me all day and night long. Karen thought evilly to herself as she stepped away from the door, but not before hearing something from the other side. Ah, shish, the pain will go away soon. I promise. Karen heard Sasuke spoke out in such gentle word which made her freak out and rushed to her room. Single quote exclamation mark. Why is he being so nice to her? But then again, they did used to be teammates and I'm sure he would be nice to an ex-teammate before killing them off. Yeah, that must be it. Shit, I must hurry before I miss the good part. Karen thought out as she ran over to her window and opened it up. She crawled out of the window, ignoring the stares of the people on the streets, and made her way over to Sasuke's window. When she was stable enough so she knew that she wasn't going to fall off, she peeked into the window, being thankful that the blinds were semi-opened, and her heart began to shatter. It wasn't what Karen was hoping for. It wasn't Sasuke torturing Sakura slowly then finishing her off with a fatal blow. It was the pink-haired girl laying on the bed that Karen should be laying on right now. With Sasuke Uchiha on top, being himself as he kept thrusting in and out of the kunoichi while she kept on moaning out his name and he was grunting hers. Karen thought that this day couldn't get any worse, but it did when a light suddenly began to flash in her direction. Karen turned her head as she placed her arm above her eyes since the light was too bright for her and noticed the owner of the hotel with some strong-looking ninjas behind him. Karen couldn't help but sigh out because she knew what kind of trouble she was about to be in. Exoxo. Sasuke. Sakura screamed out as she felt her body shatter in extreme pleasure that she had never endured before. Sakura. Sasuke grunted out after her, realizing in her wonderful body that only his eyes should ever see. He opened up his eyes at the same time as Sakura and they both experienced a flashing light. Sasuke then closed his eyes again and pulled out, falling beside his cherry blossom and placing his arm protectively around her waist, and when he opened up his eyes again, the light was gone. Wow, Sakura whispered out as she began to cuddle against the Uchiha. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at her. That was amazing. I thought I was seeing lights. Sakura giggled out. Yeah, me too. Sasuke admitted. I wonder what that light meant. Sakura asked out to herself, but Sasuke had heard her. It means you are mine and only mine. Sasuke growled out as he jumped on top of her body once more and began giving her light kissing up and down her neck. Let's try and see that light again, shall we? Sasuke looked up at her with his onyx eyes while smirking, causing Sakura to blush lightly. Sasuke took it as a sign to try and see the light again. Exoxo. The next day, everyone got up and got ready for their long trip and met up in front of the hotel where Sasuke had told everyone to meet up before leaving. Hey, does anyone know where Karen is? I checked her room earlier but she was nowhere to be found. Suigetsu said before letting out a big yawn. Yeah, is she still coming with us because I sure could go for so ramen right about now. Naruto said. Yay for ramen. Boo for Karen. Jugo said while Sakura couldn't help but giggle out by everyone's reaction. I don't know where she is but she knew that we were leaving at 9 sharp this morning so she probably decided to go out on her own journey. Let's go. Sasuke said as he began to walk while everyone began to follow him. Once he knew everyone was situated, he slowed down until he reached Sakura's side and leaned his head down to her ear. Since now we will be living in the same village, we will get to see more of each other. Sasuke whispered out before licking the outer shell of her ear, causing the girl to lightly giggle as she began to blush. Sasuke. That tickles. Sakura growled out seductively. Didn't seem to bother you last night, even when I was licking your. Hey, you two, stop with the flirting and let's get a move on. The ramen isn't going to eat itself. Naruto yelled out as the blonde began to run while the other two males followed his movements. Does that even make sense? Sakura asked as she turned to look over at the Uchiha who just shrugged his shoulders in response and grabbed her hand and began to run off as well while Sasuke kept on smirking. He made a good choice and decided to go back with Naruto and Sakura. Meanwhile, Karen was sitting in her jail cell all alone while staring at the cold ground. She still couldn't get the images of Sasuke thrusting into the pink-haired girl while she moaned out in pleasure. Stupid pink-haired freak. He was supposed to be calling my name. Not hers. I bet her hair color isn't even real. Karen growled out, then noticed that the jail guard was handing over the inmates breakfast. Karen walked over to the bars and got her tray and growled out and smashed in on the ground when she realized what they were serving for breakfast. Damn it. Why the hell is a jail serving cherry-flavored pancakes? Shikamaru was having such a relaxing day laying on top of a random building and staring up at the clouds. His team didn't have to go on any missions today, which was a first because it seemed like lately, all Shikamaru had time to do was work, eat, barely get any sleep, then more work on missions, but today was his day off and he was going to relax. Ah, this is such the perfect day. No missions, no rain, and more importantly, no Ino. Shikamaru sighed out contentedly before closing his eyes for a moment to enjoy the quiet moment. Shikamaru. A female voice screamed out, then Shikamaru opened up his eyes when he heard his name, then heard the door leading to the rooftop open up. Shikamaru turned his head to see his blonde female teammate running towards him. So much for the peace and quiet. Shikamaru thought to himself, then sat up from his position and glared at the girl. Shikamaru. Ino screeched out as she placed her hands on her hips. I heard you the first time you yelled out my name, Ino. What do you want? It's such a drag that you have to ruin the mood. Shikamaru said, then letting out a frustrating sigh. What kind of mood? Ino asked out quietly while turning her head away to hide the blush that was now forming on her cheeks. The mood to relax. Duh. What did you think I was talking about? Shikamaru looked over at the girl with one of his eyebrows being raised. Ino shook her head from being frustrated and now glared at her teammate. Never mind. I need you to come with me out for dinner tonight. Ino began to whine out while Shikamaru's expression was priceless. You want me to do what with you? Shikamaru wanted to make sure that he was hearing right. Maybe all those missions being too close to Ino when she began to yell at Choji has made him become slightly deaf. I want you to come with me to dinner. Ino simply said. Really? Shikamaru asked in a sarcastic tone of voice while Ino didn't seem to notice. Yes, will you go? Ino asked. Let me think about it, no. Shikamaru replied. Why not? Ino began to whine out again, causing Shikamaru to get a headache. Because it's too troublesome. Shikamaru said. Please. Everyone is going including Sasuke. Ino pleaded with the brown-haired male. And I care why? Shikamaru questioned her. Because it has been 1 week since Naruto and Billboard Brow have brought back Sasuke and his 2 other teammates, but then those 2 left a few days later and I haven't spent any time with him. He is either training, eating at the ramen shop with Naruto, or is missing. Ino frowned out. And I care why again? Shikamaru asked. Okay, how about this, Shikamaru? If you go to dinner with all of us tonight, I will convince Tsunade to let someone replace you in tomorrow's mission since it's only AC rank mission. And I will not talk to you for a whole week unless it is important. Ino said. Quote. Shikamaru. Ino asked the silent Shikamaru while he was too busy thinking. Mission accepted. What time do I have to be there? Shikamaru asked while Ino became very happy by his decision. Exoxo. Later that evening, Shikamaru met up with Ino and Choji outside the restaurant before entering. When they walked in, they immediately saw Naruto sitting at the table on the edge while Sasuke sat directly across from him and Sakura sat next to him. Shikamaru walked over and took a seat next to Sakura and Choji sat next to Naruto while Ino marched over to Sakura and tapped her on the shoulder. You are in my seat, Sakura. Ino hissed out but not too loud to make other customers turn their attention towards the ninjas. Is your name on here, Ino pig? Sakura smirked out at the blonde. Well, no. But, Ino was then cut off. Then it isn't your seat now, is it? Sakura raised an eyebrow at the girl, which made her even more pissed off. Ino, you can come sit next to me. Choji offered out, then Ino sent one more glare at Sakura's way, then stomped over and took a seat beside her other teammate. Hinata, Kiba and Ino arrived shortly after and everyone ordered their drinks while waiting for the last team to arrive. I hear they have the best ramen in town. Naruto grinned out. Well, I heard they had the best barbecue in town. Choji commented while Shikamaru sighed out and put his left elbow on the table and rested his head on his hand. He suddenly felt Sakura flinch on the right side of him and looked over at her with a confused look on his face. Are you alright, Sakura? Shikamaru asked the girl while everyone else was into their own conversations. Sakura looked over to him and smiled. Yeah, I think Naruto kicked me in my foot, that's all, and it scared me. Sakura said, then looked over in Sasuke's direction, and so did Shikamaru to see him staring at Sakura with a smirk on his face. Shikamaru then went back to focus on his glass of water but couldn't help but think why Sakura would lie to him about something so simply. Shikamaru wasn't a genius for nothing and could tell when someone was lying to his face. So Sakura, what are you thinking about getting tonight? Naruto asked her, which she immediately turned and looked at him. I was thinking about getting the shrimp. Sakura chirped out immediately while everyone looked over at the pink-haired girl and wondered what was up with her. Yeah, I heard that the shrimp is amazing here, I think I'm going to get it too. Kiba said, then everyone went back to their conversations. Shikamaru glanced over at Sakura, who looked like she was now blushing as she kept her gaze on her menu while Sasuke was still staring at her with his smirk plastered on his face. Sakura, are you sure you are okay? You look a little red. Shikamaru whispered to her, but Sakura nodded. I am fine, I'm just a little hot in here, that's all. Sakura replied as she smiled over at the male. Shikamaru knew something was going on and casually leaned towards the table and was shocked to see Sasuke's right hand was underneath the table. What the hell? Shikamaru thought to himself as he made his eyes averted elsewhere, but when he heard a clinging noise, he looked over at Sasuke, who had made the noise. My fork fell, Sasuke stated, because Shikamaru wasn't the only one that heard the noise. Do you want me to ask the waiter if you can get another one? Sakura asked him, but he shook his head. I'll get it, Sasuke said. Then he bent down and his upper half of his body went underneath the table. Right at that time, Neji, Lee and Tenten approached the table. Glad you guys could make it, Shino told the group. Sorry we are so late, Lee and Guy were having another moment together. Tenten rolled her eyes as she took a seat while Neji repeated her actions. Yes, I shall tell you the youthful story that Guy-sensei had told me earlier, Lee said. Then he began to start his speech when suddenly Sakura made an outburst. Oh! Sakura cried out while everyone turned their heads to look over at her once again. I mean, oh, I think I have heard this story before, Sakura said while smiling politely. Then Shikamaru looked over to see that Sasuke had not arisen from underneath the table. Shikamaru was curious, so he laid his head down on the table for a moment, pretending that he was trying to take a nap, but his eyes widened when he began to hear licking noises from underneath the table and shot up in an instant. Oh hell no. I agreed to a dinner, not this, Shikamaru thought to himself as he stood up from the table. Now everyone was looking over at him. Where do you think you are going, Shika? Ino asked out in her deadly tone of voice that Shikamaru and Choji dreaded. Shikamaru knew he didn't have a choice but sit back down on his seat. I was just stretching, that's all, Shikamaru mumbled out, then noticed that no one seemed to realize that Sasuke hadn't shown his face back up in a while. Then all of the sudden Sakura made a gasping noises and Shikamaru glared over at her direction to see that she was now panting and slightly shaking. What's up with you, billboard brow? Ino asked the pink-haired girl. I think I might be getting sick. Yeah, that's it. I haven't been feeling well all day, Sakura admitted. Then the almighty Sasuke Uchiha reappeared from underneath the table. Found it, Sasuke pointed out to his fork and placed it on the table while Shikamaru stared at him as he brought up his left hand and began to lick his fingers while staring at Sakura as she began to blush once again. Why are you licking your fingers? Naruto asked out while Shikamaru wanted to scream out what his teammates had just done, but he was smart enough to keep quiet. He knew if he mentioned something they would just deny it, then Ino would bitch at him for the rest of the night. There was an unopened ketchup packet on the floor that I found while searching for my fork and I couldn't help myself. I love those tomatoes so much, Sasuke smirked out. Oh lucky. I wish I could find food underneath the table. Naruto began to whine. Yeah, me too, Choji agreed. Yeah, you could always find something to eat while being underneath the table. Sasuke smirked out at the guys in front of him while Shikamaru rolled his eyes and sighed out. What ate even more for the male was the fact that the waiter hadn't even came by to take their order yet. Exoxo. The next morning, Shikamaru met up with Asuma, Ino and Choji as they were on their way to their next mission. Tsunade said no to Ino's request, claiming that there wasn't enough time to find someone else to replace Shikamaru in today's mission, which he knew that was bullshit. She was just having too much of a hangover and didn't want to be bothered. They were walking down the path when Shikamaru felt a presence beside him and looked over to see Ino. Ino. Shikamaru raised his eyebrow at the girl while she turned her head and smiled. Hey, I was wondering, do you think Sasuke would like me in the same outfit that I am usually wearing, or do you think I should change my appearance? Ino asked while Shikamaru slapped himself in the head. Ino, I went to that stupid dinner last night with you and had a horrible time. You didn't get me off of this mission and you also told me that you wouldn't talk to me unless it was something important. Shikamaru growled out. Well, this is important, Ino replied with a smile on her face. Please explain to me why this conversation is important. Shikamaru was about to lose his temper. Well, because everything that has to do with Sasuke is important. And I thought you were the smart in our group. Ino rolled her eyes while Shikamaru slapped his forehead once again. Shikamaru's greatest mistake was saying yes to Ino. Hinata was taking her daily stroll around Konoha, greeting people that she knew as she passed by them. She then heard her name being called out behind her and turned around to see her crush, Naruto, coming her way while waving at her. Naruto. wonder what he wants. Hinata thought to herself as she smiled and waved back until Naruto got to her side. He bent down just a little bit while putting his hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. "Hey, are you okay, Naruto?" Hinata asked out in her shy tone of voice. Naruto looked up at her and gave her the thumbs up while grinning, letting her know that he was just fine. "I just need to catch my breath. I have been looking all over for you," Naruto said as he began to stand up straight. He's been looking all over for me." Hinata thought, then began to blush so hard that her face began to look like a tomato. Thank God Sasuke wasn't around to see her. "Are you feeling okay, Hinata? You look really red," Naruto asked in a worried tone of voice, but Hinata just shook her head. No, I'm fine, but thank you for asking me. Anyways, what did you want to CF for?" Hinata asked. "Well, it's kinda embarrassing, but I was wondering if you could do me a favor," Naruto said. Sure. What's you up?" Hinata asked again. "Okay, here is the situation. I was over at Sakura's yesterday hanging out with her and Sasuke, and I left my ramen coupon on top of her dresser, and I have to go to a mission in a while, and I was wondering if you could swing by and pick it up for me," Naruto asked. I guess so. Why don't you just ask Sakura to get it?" Hinata asked. "Because she is kinda mad at me and ramen at the moment, but I have her house key. So could you just sneak in and get it? I don't want Sakura to know that I'm trying to get the coupon back, and Sakura always seems to know every time I go to her house," Naruto said. Sure. Hinata said with a smile on her face. "Thanks, Hinata. You are the best. Xoxo." A little while later, Hinata walked into Sakura's house using the key that Naruto had given her and looked around the house. She ended up going upstairs and found her bedroom. Her bedroom was white with a light and pale pink trim around the edges. Hinata then began searching around her room and gasped out when she finally found what she was looking for. She walked over to Sakura's dresser and picked it up with her hands. "Gee, great, now I have what Naruto wanted, so all I need to do is return it to him," Hinata thought to herself, but then became alarmed when she heard Sakura's voice inside the house. Hinata looked around frantically and ran over to Sakura's closet and closed the door, hiding herself from the pink-haired girl. That was a close one. I hope Sakura doesn't find me," Hinata thought to herself, then heard the bedroom door open up. "I still can't believe that Naruto ate all that ramen." Hinata could hear Sakura yell out and began to blush from hearing Naruto's name. "Why is that hard to believe? He always eats a lot of ramen." A male voice spoke out and Hinata's eyes widened once she realized who it was. That's Sasuke. I wonder why he is over at Sakura's." Hinata thought to herself. Yeah, but It sounded like Sakura was suddenly cut off, then Hinata placed her ear on the door to make sure that Sakura was okay, but quietly gasped out when she began to hear kissing sounds on the other side, followed by a moan. What was that? Hinata thought to herself. You are such a naughty girl, my cherry blossom. Only because you make me that way. Are you wet right now? Hinata heard Sasuke asked out. Wet? Did she just take a shower or something? Hinata thought to herself. Why don't you see for yourself? Sakura moaned out, which frightened Hinata a little bit. She had no idea what was going on out there. God, you are so wet and yet you taste so sweet. Sasuke growled out while Hinata was very confused. Okay. If she is wet, shouldn't she be drying off so she won't get sick? But he thinks that she tastes sweet. Maybe she had some jam on her lips or ate something sweet earlier. Hinata thought. Do you want me to lick you dry? Sasuke asked, then Hinata heard a moaning noise. Oh yes. Lick me completely dry, Sasuke. Lick me until there is nothing left. Hinata heard Sakura cried out. So Sasuke is going to lick her dry. Wouldn't it be easier for him to get a towel? I would think if he was licking her then that wouldn't make her dry. Hinata thought weirdly. A few minutes later of non-stop moaning, she began to hear a whipping noise. Oh okay. I don't think I just imagined that noise. It sounded like a whip. Hinata thought. What are you going to do to me with that thing? Hinata heard Sasuke asked out on the other side of the door. Oh, this is your punishment, Mr. Uchiha, for making me pay Naruto's ramen bill earlier. Smack smack. Hinata began to shake because she was so afraid of what was going on. She was starting to think that Sakura was really hurting Sasuke and was debating whether to interfere or not. If this is my punishment, I should get you mad more often. Sasuke said while Hinata sighed in relief. She was so glad that the Uchiha was okay. What would you like me to do? Sakura asked the male while Hinata wondered what his answer was going to be. I want you to me hard. Me hard. Okay, I am totally clueless on that. She could hear Sasuke moaning on the other side, but after a while it stopped. What are they doing in there? Hinata wondered, then she heard Sakura screaming. Sakura's in trouble. Hinata thought, then placed her hand on the door knob and was about to open the door when she heard Sasuke speak again and heard some loud pounding noise. Oh yeah, you like that, don't you, Sakura? Oh god, yes. Oh my. Maybe I don't want to know what they are doing in there. Hinata thought to herself. Oh my god, Sasuke. I'm coming. Me too. They are coming. That is great news to me because that means they are going to be leaving. Hinata thought happily because she was getting sick and tired of being stuck in the closet. Ah, why are they screaming? Are they being attacked? Hinata began to freak out and listened in to hear that all the weird noises had stopped, and she thought that was her cue to leave the closet. Ready for round 2, you dirty little girl. I'm going to be in this tiny closest forever. Xoxox. The next day, Hinata was doing her daily walk once again, but she looked very tired today. After hours of being in Sakura's closest, Hinata was finally able to escape her home when Sakura and Sasuke decided to go hang out at his place. But even when she tried to go to sleep, the disturbing things that she had heard during those hours kept her up all night, but she was able to get Naruto's ramen coupon and he will be very happy. Hinata turned around with a smile on her face, knowing that it was Naruto catching up to her. Hi Naruto. I got you that coupon you asked me to get at Sakura's. Hinata said as she took out the ramen coupon and handed it over to the blonde. He grinned at her, then looked down at the coupon, then frowned. What is it, Naruto? Did I get the wrong coupon? It was the only coupon that was on Sakura's dresser. Hinata said. It's just it had already expired, so it is no use for me anymore. Naruto said as he threw the coupon away. Oh, I see. Well, see you later. Hinata spoke out softly as she turned away with full disappointment. Wait, Hinata. Naruto called out again. Yes, Naruto. Hinata turned around and faced him once again. Please don't ask me to go over to Sakura's house again. I don't think I can take any more of Sakura and Sasuke's activities. Hinata thought. I was wondering, I won a bet with Lee and I got some extra cash, so would you like to go get some ramen with me? Kinda like a thank you for all of your hard work for getting my coupon. Naruto asked. Sure. Hinata said happily as they began to walk together towards the ramen shop. Hey Hinata. Yes Naruto. Hinata asked Naruto. I was wondering, you aren't stuttering anymore. Naruto commented and Hinata realized that he was right. She wasn't stuttering anymore. Yeah. I wonder what happened. Did you see or hear anything dramatic? Maybe that might had scared it away or something, who knows? Naruto mumbled out. I guess you are right. Hinata said as she tried her best to forget the noise she heard yesterday. Lee was training extra hard out in the training grounds. He knew he had to be strong so Guy would be very proud of him, so he trained as much as he could. He also wanted to make Sakura proud of him. He kicked around the dummy some more when he heard Neji's voice from the distance and turned around. Hello Neji. Lee greeted his fellow teammate. Me and Tenten are going to go get something to eat. Would you like to join us? Neji asked, but Lee shook his head. No thank you. I must train some more so my lovely cherry blossom will see how strong I am and agree to go on an incredible date with me. Lee shouted out while Neji rolled his eyes. Okay, whatever. Don't strain yourself. Neji said as he walked away as Lee continued to train some more. Xoxo. About 2 hours later, Lee was about done with his training for the moment and decided to go for a walk. He gathered his things and walked out of the training ground and began to walk around and go get something to eat. He met up with Choji and Shikamaru and enjoyed himself as they all ate lunch together. When Lee was done with his meal, he decided that he wanted to train some more, so excused himself from the table and said his goodbyes to Shikamaru and Choji. He then walked out the door and walked back over to the training grounds. When he arrived there, he could heard some moaning sounds and thought that someone was in trouble and began to panic. Someone is in trouble. I must save them, Lee thought to himself as he rushed closer to the noise, but stopped when he saw his Cherry Blossom and Sasuke being together while their clothes were neatly folded next to their bodies. Lee could see Sasuke laying on the ground while Sakura was riding on top of him, enjoying the sensation. Sakura, Lee spoke out, broken-hearted, while Sakura heard her name being called out and stopped her movements, causing the male underneath her to growl out in frustration, and she looked over and froze when she saw Lee staring at her. Lee! Sakura yelled out as she got off of the Uchiha and tried her best to cover up her exposed body as Sasuke slowly sat up from the ground, wondering what the fuss was about, but smirked when he saw the sad ninja. Sakura quickly handed Sasuke over his boxers. Thanks, Sasuke said as he thanked her and put them on and marched over to Lee while he was still frozen. Lee, is there something that you need? Sasuke growled out. You are doing dirty things to my Cherry Blossom, Lee yelled out while Sasuke shook his head and smirked back at him. Ah, don't you mean my Cherry Blossom? Sasuke raised an eyebrow at the ninja. No, she is mine. If she was mine, then I wouldn't have been making passionate love to her in the training grounds while the grass is uncomfortable because of the sticks and rocks. Lee yelled out. Ha, that is where you are wrong. She is mine because I was the one who was on that uncomfortable ground while she was moaning in pleasure. Sasuke spoke out as he closed his eyes for a second, then reopened them with his Sharingan and began to use it, making Lee to pass out while Sakura had gotten dressed and watched the scene behind the Uchiha's back a few feet away, trying her best to not get involved. Exoxo. When Lee finally awoken, he suddenly sat up and looked around to see Sakura, Sasuke, Naruto and Kakashi standing by his side, wondering if he was okay. Lee, how are you feeling? Sakura asked the ninja in a concerned tone of voice. What happened? Lee asked while rubbing his temples. You got drunk, Sasuke stated as he had his arms crossed in front of his chest. Really? But wait, I don't remember drinking anything. Last thing I remember was. Lee was then cut off. Silly Lee, when me and Sasuke found you over by the bridge, you were so wasted that we brought you over here because you said something about youth and nature, but then you suddenly passed out. Sakura said, then sat beside him and gave him a hug. But I'm glad you are okay now, Lee. Sakura spoke out, then released the male and went back to stand next to the Uchiha who was glaring at her now. Oh wow, I guess I really got drunk then because I could had sworn finding you and Sasuke together, making passionate love in the training grounds, and when I tried to talk to Sasuke about the situation, Sasuke used his Sharingan on me. Lee said. Then everyone began to laugh except for Lee, who was still confused, and Sasuke, who was smirking. Haha, yeah, that is a good one. Sasuke and Sakura doing it. I don't see Sasuke being the passionate love-making type, Naruto said while Sakura and Sasuke sweat dropped, but no one seemed to notice. Yeah, I guess you are right, Naruto. Lee then began to laugh with the rest of them, but now Sasuke was begin to get pissed off. I can be passionate if I wanted to, Sasuke mumbled out while looking away from his team. Come on, Sasuke. No one would ever think you would even hug Sakura since you are always calling her annoying and being the weakest member of our team, Naruto said while he continued to laugh, while Sasuke looked over to see that Sakura had stopped laughing and was looking pretty sad now. Naruto, that was a mean thing to say when Sakura is standing right here with us, Kakashi said while reading his book. That is okay, Kakashi. I guess I am still weak after killing off an Akatsuki member and having these kick abilities to beat up people and can heal almost anything. I guess that does not compare to Naruto or Sasuke. Sakura said with a smile at her face while looking at her teacher, then looked over at Lee. Lee, I'm so glad that you are feeling better now. Now I better go to the hospital now, my shift is about to start in 5 minutes. See you guys later. Sakura said, then she began to run away, off to the hospital while the men stayed behind. Do you think she is mad? Naruto asked everyone. Don't worry, I shall find Sakura and make her feel better. Lee said as he stood up suddenly and stormed off towards the hospital. Hey Kakashi, Naruto asked. What is it, Naruto? Did you forget your ramen coupon again? Kakashi suggested. No, I was wondering, where did Sasuke go? Naruto questioned out as he looked around the area and no Uchiha was nowhere to be found as Kakashi kept on reading his book. Exoxo. Lee looked all over the hospital, trying to find his sweet cherry blossom. He finally found Tsunade, who was walking down the hallway, and asked her if Sakura was available, and the Hokage told him that Sakura mentioned going on the roof for some fresh air, so Lee thanked the older lady, then quickly walked towards the stairs and walked all the way up to the rooftop. When he finally reached the top of the stairs, he put his hand on the handle and heard a conversation on the other side, so he figured he would listen in. What do you want? Lee heard a woman speak out. Don't listen to Naruto, he is an idiot. The male spoke out. But he is right, I am weaker than you two. The woman who Lee recognized as Sakura said. No, you are a strong woman. The male said. Sasuke. Lee's eyes widened when he realized that the male who he was talking to was Sasuke Uchiha. He had his suspicions, but he wanted to make sure. Then he heard nothing but silence and decided to interrupt before Sasuke had the chance to hurt Sakura again. He opened the door and froze in shock when he saw Sasuke sitting down on the ground with his legs laid out while Sakura was in the Uchihas. Sasuke heard the door open up and looked over at the entrance to see Lee standing there and immediately turned on his Sharingan, making Lee pass out again and collapse on the ground. Sakura was so busy with the blow job she hadn't noticed that Lee had opened up the door, but when she heard a loud thud, she stopped and looked up at Sasuke. What was that? Sakura asked. Nothing. Keep doing what you were doing. Sasuke smirked out as Sakura smiled back at him and continued with her job. Tenten was currently doing her dishes in her apartment. She decided to spend the day cleaning around her apartment since Lee and Neji were out doing a mission together and she didn't feel like hanging out with Guy. She then heard someone knocking on her door and wondered who it might be as she sat down the plate and walked over and opened up her door. She was shocked beyond belief when it was the one and only Sasuke Uchiha standing by her doorway. Hi Sasuke, what's up? Does the Hokage have a mission for me or something? Tenten asked the male, but he shook his head. No. That's not it. Sasuke said, then he looked down on the ground while Tenten was wondering what was up then. Okay. Then what's up? Tenten asked. Well, I kinda have a favor to ask you. Sasuke mumbled out while he was still staring at the ground. What is it, Sasuke? Tenten asked as Sasuke locked eyes with hers. Here is the situation. I have a bunch of things that I have to do today, but I need my apartment to be clean for tonight, and I was wondering if you could clean my house for me. Sasuke said. You want me to clean your house? Why? Tenten asked. Were you not just listening to me? Sasuke said while he was beginning to be irritated. Yes, I was, but I'm still in shock that you want me to clean your house. Tenten said. Well, I'm expecting company over tonight and I would like my house to be clean for her, but I have many things I have to do today, so I won't be able to, and Neji had told me that you do a great job cleaning his house. Sasuke said. Neji told you that? I'm going to kill him. Tenten growled out as she crossed her arms in front of her chest. Will you do it? Sasuke asked. I guess so, only under 2 conditions. Tenten spoke out. And what would those be? Sasuke raised his eyebrow at the female. Okay, well, first, you can't let anyone know about this. I don't want people to think that I'm some kind of cleaning lady or something. Tenten said, and Sasuke nodded his head. Good. Number 2, you have to ask me a question. Tenten spoke out. What is it? Sasuke asked. Why is it so important that you need to have your house clean tonight? Tenten asked as Sasuke then looked away while she noticed that he had a slight blush forming on his pale cheeks. Because. Sasuke sighed out. The person who I was talking about is currently away on a mission and won't be back until tonight, and I want my house to look nice. Sasuke explained, then looked up at Tenten again. So will you do it or not? I don't have all day, you know. Sasuke spoke out while running his fingers through his hair. Tenten stood there for a second then smiled. You will be paying me, correct? Tenten asked. Of course. Sasuke spat out. Okay, I'll do it. Tenten chirped out. The extra money wouldn't hurt. Great. Sasuke said as he took out his house key and handed it over to her. What is this? Tenten asked as she held up the key in her hand. It's my house key. Just come on over when you get a chance to. Sasuke said, then turned disappeared in a puff of smoke while Tenten rolled her eyes. He could had at least say thank you. But I wonder who he was talking about. Tenten asked out, then closed her door behind her. Exoxo. About an hour later, Tenten had finally arrived at the Uchiha house. She walked up to the door and unlocked it using the key that Sasuke had given her, then walked inside the house. She walked a few feet and looked around and noticed that the house wasn't dirty, it was spotless. God, this place is already clean unless Sasuke is one of those clean freaks. Tenten wondered as she walked over to the kitchen and gasped out at the sight in front of her. There was a small round table right in the middle of his kitchen that had already been decorated by food. There were 2 plates, 2 glasses and silverware, a bottle of sake and a delicious meal. Did Sasuke do all of this? It is still pretty early, so why would he cook this now if he is expecting a guest later tonight unless? Tenten thought to herself for a moment before realizing something, causing her eyes to widen. What if this was Sasuke's way of telling me that he likes me? The more I think about it, the more it makes sense. The house is already clean, so there is no point in me cleaning it, and it seems that he has made dinner for the both of us. Tenten thought more as she walked away from the table and began to walk upstairs. Oh my god, I bet Sasuke is waiting for me in his bedroom right now. I know I shouldn't be thinking this way, but I'm not going to disappoint him after all the trouble he did just for me. Neji, I still love you, but I am so sick of your talks about that destiny crap and won't put out. I need to get laid, damn it. Tenten smiled to herself as she reached up the stairs and walked over to Sasuke's door. She presumed it was since it was the only door that was closed. She put her hand on the handle and took a deep breath. Okay, Tenten, this is it. Tenten thought to herself, then opened up the door. Sasuke, you are so sweet. I can't. Tenten stopped talking once she got into the bedroom and froze at the sight before her. Tenten, what are you doing here? What was before Tenten's eyes was Sakura, laying on the bed with rose petals all over the covers with candles lit up around the room. Tenten then looked over and stared at what Sakura was wearing. She was wearing a very revealing black and red corset outfit while she had on deep red lipstick that made Sakura look amazing. Sakura, what the hell are you doing here? Tenten asked as she watched the pink-haired girl get up from the bed and put a robe around her body, then walked up to her. I think I asked you first. What do you think you are doing here? Sakura was trying to be nice but ended up growling instead. Sasuke invited me over, Sakura. He came by my apartment earlier and asked me to come over. He even dropped me off his house key. Tenten smirked out as she took out the Uchiha's house and showed it to Sakura, watching her eyes widen. Tenten and Sakura were alright with each other, but after Sakura started talking mean towards her, she knew it was war. So Sakura, I told you what I was doing here. What are you doing here? Tenten asked as she crossed her arms but instantly felt guilty when she saw the pink-haired girl frown. I guess it doesn't matter. Sakura said as tears welled up in her eyes as she walked over to the chair and picked up her clothes. Tenten then heard someone coming up the stairs and took a step back to see it was Sasuke while he also noticed her. Hey Tenten, I took a quick glance at the place and I am so glad that I had asked you to come over here today. Sasuke said with a smirk on his face as he walked up to the girl. You even made me my favorite meal, but you didn't have to do that for me. Sasuke said, then looked in his room to see a crying Sakura, and his smirk was wiped off of his face. Sakura, what are you doing here? Sasuke asked out while Tenten nodded at the male. I asked her the exact same thing. Tenten said, but was shocked when Sasuke went running over to her and brought her in an embrace. What's wrong? Sasuke whispered into Sakura's ear, then placed his hands on her face so she had to look at him. I came back early from my mission and I wanted to surprise you, so I cleaned your house and made you dinner, and I was waiting for you up here when Tenten showed up and told me that you wanted her to come over. So I understand if you like her too. I'm sorry for ruining your evening. Sakura cried out as she tried to move away from Sasuke, but he wouldn't let her go. Tenten just then realized what was going on. Sakura was the girl that Sasuke had mentioned earlier, and she was the one that did everything, not Sasuke. Now Tenten felt really bad and walked over to the pair. I'm sorry, Sakura. I misunderstood the situation. Sasuke asked me to come over to clean his house today because he wanted it to look nice for you when you got back from your mission, but he didn't tell me who was coming over. Tenten explained. So you two aren't together? Sakura asked them, and both shook their heads. Then Sasuke dipped his head low enough to reach her ear. It's only been you, my blossom. Sasuke whispered out so softly that she was the only one who heard him, and she smiled. Sasuke then smirked back at her, then looked over at Tenten. Well, I guess someone did the job for you. You can leave now. Sasuke spoke out while Tenten nodded her head and left the room, leaving the couple alone. Tenten had walked out of the house when she noticed that she still had Sasuke's house key. Oh crap. I better give this back to him or else he might get pissed off at me later. Tenten thought to herself as she quickly went back inside the house and walked up the stairs again. She opened the door again and froze when she saw Sakura laying on the bed while Sasuke was going down on her. The couple had heard the door open, and Sakura opened up her eyes and looked at the girl. Tenten! Sakura yelled out while Sasuke stopped at what he was doing and turned around and looked into Tenten's eyes. Then he activated his Sharingan, causing the girl to pass out on the floor. Sasuke, I really think you should stop doing that. It's becoming a habit of yours lately, and I don't think it's healthy for your eyes. Sakura said. Sasuke responded as he placed his head between her thighs again. Sakura let out a moan, then realized something. Sasuke, shouldn't we do something with her body? Sakura asked, but then was gently bit, causing the girl to get turned on even more and forgot about the knocked out female. Exoxo. The next morning, Tenten jumped out of bed and looked around and noticed that she was on her bed, in her bedroom with Neji and Lee surrounding her. Neji. Lee. What happened? Tenten asked. Lee wanted to let you know that we were back from our mission, so we came to stop by, but when we arrived, you were passed out on your kitchen floor. Are you feeling alright? Neji asked, and Tenten nodded her head. Yeah, but I could had sworn that I was over at Sasuke's and I was going to clean his house and Sakura was therein. Tenten was then interrupted. Oh my. Did you catch Uchiha and my Sakura doing UAL acts with each other too? Lee asked, and Tenten nodded. Yes. Then when they noticed me, Sasuke activated his Sharingan on me. They must had placed me back at my apartment. I even have Sasuke's house key to prove what happened. Tenten yelled out, then put her hand in her pocket and frowned when she realized that the key was missing. Wait, it's here somewhere. Tenten said as she searched her bed. See Neji, I told you I wasn't drunk that day. Lee yelled out while Neji rolled his eyes. My teammates are idiots. I promise you I have the key somewhere, just hold on. Neji, where are you going? It had been about 2 weeks since Neji and Lee had found Tenten in her apartment and couldn't believe the lies that they were telling him. All about how Sakura and Sasuke were romantically involved. He thought that there was in no way that Sasuke and Sakura were together. Sasuke was always acting so cold towards everyone, including Sakura, while Sakura was too damn annoying. No one would want to even hug her except for Naruto. Neji was currently at the training grounds and decided to activate his Byakugan, but then realized someone was behind him and turned around just in time to see dirt hitting his eyes. Ah! Neji screamed out as he covered his eyes. Sorry about that, Neji. I wanted to see what you were up to and I figure I would use the element of surprise. Naruto said. You idiot. Why the hell did you throw dirt in my eyes? Neji roared out. Well, like I said, it was all part of the plan. Naruto said. What plan? Neji asked out. The plan to use the element of surprise. I even controlled my chakra so that you wouldn't know that I was sneaking up on you. Pretty clever, huh? Naruto smirked to himself. Naruto. Yeah, Neji. You better run. Exoxo. About a few hours later, after torturing Naruto, Neji decided to go to the hospital to get his eyes checked out since they were still irritating him from Naruto's actions earlier. He was sent to a room, waiting on Tsunade to arrive. After a few minutes, there was a knock on the door and Tsunade walked into the room. Well, hello there, Neji. Shizune had told me what you said that happened earlier today. But can you ask me one thing before we get started? Tsunade asked the male. Go right ahead. Neji said. Tell me, Neji, did you kill Naruto? Tsunade asked. No, I did not. I just made him pay by kicking it where it hurts. It is not my destiny to kill off a fellow ninja like myself. Neji said. Oh crap, not that destiny nonsense again. Where is the sake when you need it? Tsunade thought to herself. Anyways, let me take a look at your eyes. Tsunade instructed, then she looked around his eyes to see what was wrong with them. After a few seconds later, she pulled away from the male. Your eyes look a little irritated and I want to do an exercise for your Byakugan. Tsunade explained. Alright, what do I need to do? Neji asked. I am going to need you to activate your Byakugan while I take a glance at them to see how they look, then we shall go from there. Tsunade said while Neji nodded his head and activated his Byakugan. He then looked over at the wall to see a male and a female who appeared to be Sakura and Sasuke walking into the room. What are they doing here? Well, Sakura does help out at the hospital and maybe Sasuke got injured by Naruto's pranks or something. Neji thought to himself, then was shocked to see that they began to tear each other's clothes off. What the? Neji thought. Neji, are you okay? Tsunade asked while Neji snapped out of his own thoughts while staring at the couple. I'm fine, Neji said as he noticed that Sakura was bent over while Sasuke began to slam her from behind. What in the hell? Isn't that what dogs supposed to do? What on earth are they doing? Neji thought. Neji, your eyes look a little weird, just keep on staring at that wall while I get my little light. Tsunade said while she got up from her stool. Unfortunately for Neji, it meant staring longer at the wall and currently he could see Sakura being tied up on the bed by Sasuke. It looks like Sasuke is going to attack Sakura. I must warn Tsunade. Neji thought to himself. Tsunade, I would like to inform you that Sakura and Sasuke are having very weird UAL intercourse in the next room and Sasuke is currently tying Sakura up on the bed. I think he is going to try and hurt her or something. Neji informed the Hokage, but she only began to laugh. Oh my, I think your Byakugan is acting up. Why in the world would they be doing such things in the next room? Tsunade asked out while Neji's eyes began to widen more when he noticed the pair in the other room were now in a 69 position. Now Sasuke is on top of Sakura while she is underneath him. Apparently they are doing the 69 position. Neji said while Tsunade began to laugh out harder and louder. Oh my Neji, I think Naruto might had put something in that dirt or something for you to be seeing weird things like that. Tsunade said. No, but it's true. Why don't you go knock next door and see for yourself? Neji told the older woman. Well, I can't right now, I'm examining your eyes. Sheesh. Tsunade rolled her eyes as she continued to examine his eyes. When will this torture end? I don't enjoy watching this. But Sakura does have some really nice tits. Neji thought to himself and a smirk appeared on his face which Tsunade noticed. Are you okay, Neji? You are smirking and you usually don't smirk. Tsunade raised an eyebrow at the male. I'm fine. I was just thinking about destiny. Yeah, that's it, destiny. Neji said while hearing the Hokage sigh out. Okay, whatever. Anyways, I am done examining you so you can deactivate your Byakugan now. Tsunade said, which he did, then stood up from the hospital bed. Your eyes just look a little irritated and should be fine tomorrow, so in the meantime try not to use your Byakugan, okay? Tsunade said. After what I saw today, I don't think I ever want to use it ever again. And what was up with the long examen? All she did was look at my eyes for 30 minutes. 30 minutes that I will never get back. Neji thought to himself, then realized something. Okay, since we are done here, will you please check the next room, and I promise you that Sasuke and Sakura are doing very naughty things in there. Neji demanded. Alright, fine. Let's go check it out. Tsunade mumbled out as they walked out of the room. Right as they stepped out, the door next door opened up, revealing Sakura leaving. Hi Tsunade, Neji. Sakura greeted them. Sakura, is there anyone currently in that room at the moment? Tsunade asked as she pointed at the door, in which Sakura nodded. Yes, Sasuke is currently resting after Naruto chased after him and threw dirt in his eyes. Sakura informed her. See, I told you that they were doing UAL acts in there together. Neji pointed out while he crossed his arms while Sakura's eyes widened. Sasuke responded as he walked up to the group with a bored expression on his face. Sasuke, I heard that you were also attacked by Naruto. Tsunade said. Yeah, I killed that dobe. Sasuke said while everyone's eyes widened. Sasuke, you don't mean? Sakura asked out while Sasuke smirked and closed his eyes. Yeah, I killed him by taking away all of his ramen coupons. Sasuke said while everyone let out the breath that they were holding. Anyways, Neji had the exact same thing. He was even hallucinating when he had activated his Byakugan. Tsunade explained. Really? That's weird. Sakura said. No, I was not hallucinating. I saw what you two did. Neji glared at the couple while they had a confused look on his face. You watched as I gave Sasuke an eye exam? Sakura asked. No. I saw you two going at it like dogs. Neji screamed out while everyone around them stopped at what they were doing and looked over at him. Now Neji, that is no way to speak in my hospital. Tsunade growled out. Sorry. Neji mumbled out while he glared at the Uchiha who was smirking right at him. There he goes. He's smirking. Neji pointed at the Uchiha. Yeah, I'm smirking at you. Sasuke said. Neji, are you okay? You are not acting like you normally do. Sakura said in a concerned tone of voice. You know what, fine, don't believe me, but mark my words, destiny always finds its way. Neji said as he stormed off. What did he mean by that? I don't think that made any sense. Sakura said while Sasuke just shrugged his shoulders. Who cares? I need more sake. Tsunade said as she walked away from the couple. Is she drunk? Sakura asked. Sakura, you work with her almost every day. When is she not drunk? Sasuke asked. Good point. Ino was laying on the bed, staring at her ceiling while cuddling with her teddy bear who she had named Sasuke after a certain Uchiha. She had to think of something to give to Sasuke since his birthday was coming up soon. I have to think of something great to get Sasuke, but what? Ino thought to herself. I could give him one hot romantic date with me, but he is always training, eating ramen with Naruto, missions, or he is just not around. Ino frowned but then thought of a clever idea and jumped off of her bed. I know. Since he is always wearing the exact same shirt, I should go out and buy him a new one. But I don't know what size her wears. Oh, I'll just sneak into his house and found out for myself. Ino thought cleverly as she looked at the time and smirked. He should be at the ramen bar with Billboard Brow and Naruto right about now, giving me enough time to swing by his place and snatch one of his shirts. It's the perfect plan. Best plan ever. Ino thought to herself, then walked out of her room and made her destination to Sasuke's house. Exoxo. When Ino arrived outside of Sasuke's house, she tried opening the door but it was no use. Then she realized that one of his windows in his living room was opened a little bit, so she ran over to the window and opened it up wide enough to get inside his house. When she entered the Uchiha's home, she noticed the stairs and walked up until she reached the second floor and walked into Sasuke's room. Ino felt like she was in heaven. being in Sasuke's bedroom and walked over to his bed and took a seat while touching his sheets with her hand. She was then imagining what it would be like to be making love to Sasuke right here on his bed. Her daydream was then interrupted when she began to hear footsteps. Crap, I better hide, Ino thought to herself, then got up from the bed and smirked to herself when she looked down. She realized that she had enough room to hide under his bed, so she quickly went under, making sure not to make any noise. I didn't know you could be so kinky. Ino could hear Sasuke's voice enter the room, and at first she thought that Sasuke knew that she was underneath the bed. Crap, he knows I'm here. But, the way he said it seemed like that he was satisfied with it. Maybe he wants me to be under his bed and surprise him. Ino thought, but stopped herself from crawling out when she heard another pair of footsteps. Yeah, but you like me that way, don't you? Ino's eyes widened when she realized that the voice belonged to none other than Sakura Haruno. What the hell is she doing in my Sasuke's room? Ino thought to herself, but then stopped thinking when she started to hear some smooching noises, following some moans. What time do you have to meet up with Ino? Sasuke asked out. That's right, I am supposed to meet Sakura up at the flower shop later. Ino thought to herself. In about 45 minutes. Don't worry, we have plenty of time. Sakura said. Then Ino silently jumped up from being scared after she felt something fall on the bed. What in the world are they doing up there? Ino thought, but was shocked when she heard the male Uchiha chuckle. Haven't done this position in a while. You feeling like being the dominant one today? Sasuke said. Then Ino heard Sakura begin to moan. Oh yeah, Sasuke, you know you want me to ride your large, hard. Sakura said. Then Ino began to feel a movement above the bed, making the mattress to slightly touch her own body but not crushing her. Oh my god. How dare Billboard Brow have the opportunity to be having with Sasuke while I am still a virgin? I'm going to kill that. Ino thought angrily as the bed kept on hitting her back, but then it suddenly stopped. What is it, Sakura? Sasuke asked. I don't if it's just me, but your bed seems to be feeling weird. Like there is something underneath or something. Sakura mentioned out, causing Ino to start freaking out. Shit, she knows. I can't let them know that I broke into Sasuke's house just to take his shirt. Ino thought. Who cares? Sasuke said. You are right. Sakura said as Ino began to feel the bed move again and felt a large thump. It's my turn now. Sasuke growled out as Ino could feel him starting to pump her friend. Oh Sasuke. Sakura moaned out. Yeah, you like that, don't you? Sasuke asked, which earned a louder moan from the girl. Shit, Sakura, you sure are a moaner. Ino thought. Yes, Sakura, you will only ever moan to me. Scream out that you are mine. Sasuke hissed out. Oh, I'm yours, Sasuke. Oh god. Sakura cried out while Ino's eyes widen. Wow, Sasuke is really possessive. He is kinda turning me on. Ino thought. Dirty. Good girl, you are so tight. Sasuke growled out. Ew. I did not need to know that. Ino screamed out in her mind. Sasuke, me harder. Sakura screamed out. Then Ino felt the bed hitting her harder on her back. I don't think I'm going to be able to take much more of this torture. Ino frowned out as she tried to cover her ears up, but it was no use. The couple above them was just too damn loud. That's it, Sakura. You know I want to use so fast and hard until I come all over your. Sasuke was then interrupted. That is it. The couple stopped at what they were doing when they heard a yell coming from underneath the bed. Sasuke pulled out of the girl who was underneath him as Sakura got up from the bed while covering herself up with one of Sasuke's black sheets while Sasuke quickly placed on his dark green boxers. Sakura looked down and noticed that someone was crawling from underneath the bed. Ah! Sakura screamed out and punched the intruder so hard, it made Ino crash into one of Sasuke's walls, leaving the blonde unconscious. Ino. Sakura asked out, but Ino was too knocked out to respond. Sasuke turned his head and gave her a questionable look. She scared the crap out of me. Sakura spoke out while Sasuke couldn't help but smirk at her and brought her over to his chest. Sasuke nuzzled his face in her pink hair while inhaling her scent. She smelled like cherries today. Can't get enough of me, huh? Sakura giggled out. Sasuke responded, then began to nibble on her exposed collarbone. Sakura then closed her eyes while letting out a moan when she felt one of his fingers go inside of her. What the? The couple pulled away from each other, seeing Ino standing there with her hands on her hips. Sasuke then activated his Sharingan but quickly deactivated it when he was nudged on his side by Sakura's elbow. What the? You knock me out then go back to getting on with each other instead of trying to see if I was okay or not. Ino growled out while Sasuke had thought of something and glared back at the blonde. Ino. Sasuke spoke out her name. What, Sasuke? I can't believe you would be so possessive in bed, and you, Sakura. God, you really shouldn't moan that much. I bet it turned Sasuke off after hearing all that crap. Ino spat out while crossing her arms. Sasuke continued to glare at her while Sakura widened her eyes and felt a little ashamed. Ino. Sasuke growled out her name once more. And oh my god, you guys are like so kinky, and Ino began to speak out. Ino. Sasuke said. And talking dirty like that. Ino. Sakura screamed out this time, which shocked the blonde and the Uchiha. What is it, billboard brow? Ino asked, then Sakura looked over at Sasuke and nodded her head while he smirked at her, then glared back at her friend. Ino. Sasuke spoke out. Yeah, what is it? Ino asked. What the are you doing in my house? Sasuke growled out as his Sharingan began to activate again, but this time Sakura didn't try to stop him. Both females were aware of how angry the Uchiha was at the moment. Ino was so wrapped up after hearing Sasuke and Sakura in their love-making that she forgot that she had broken into his home. Haha, well, you see. Ino began to speak while trying to think of a perfect excuse, but then she suddenly thought of the perfect idea and smiled. What happened was, Ino then suddenly began to run out of the room and ran as fast as she could out of the house. After heard the front door open and close, Sakura walked back over to Sasuke. Aren't you going to go after her? Sakura asked the male, but he shook his head. I have something more important to deal with. Sasuke said, then picked her up bridal style and placed her back on the bed while he crawled back on top of her. Sasuke. Sakura asked, which caused Sasuke to look up into her eyes. Does my moans turn you off like what Ino said? Sakura asked while starting to blush and looked away from the male because she was so embarrassed. Her eyes then widened when she felt his lips giving her light kisses on her cheek. Your moans make me turn on even more. Sasuke growled out as he began to thrust into her. Sakura was so swept up in the pleasure that she was receiving that she had forgotten her date with Ino. Exoxo. Ino was standing by the flower shop, waiting for Sakura to arrive. Ino really didn't feel like seeing her, but they did agree to meet up here. When she noticed that Sakura was nowhere to be seen, she looked down at her watch and noticed that Sakura was an hour late. Arg, I bet she forgot. There is no chance in hell I'm going back over to Sasuke's. Ino thought to herself as she walked away, forgetting that she still hadn't gotten anything for Sasuke's birthday. Kakashi was standing by the stone which carved everyone named that had died, including his best friend. He sighed out knowing that it was time to leave and slowly walked away. He had been doing a lot of thinking lately about his teammates and was finally glad that the three of his students were finally getting along. He decided to walk along the path that was surrounded by cherry blossoms. I wonder what Anko is up to right about now. Kakashi thought to himself as he smirked underneath his mask. He kept on walking through with no one else around when he heard a soft moan. Is someone hurt? Or is it someone is getting pleasure? Kakashi wondered as he silently went over to where the noise was coming from. The moans kept on getting louder and louder as he got closer to the destination. I guess I'm not the only one who has been reading the Ika Ika series. Kakashi smirked out as he began to hear a man groan out. I really should leave them alone and have them have their privacy, but I wonder who would be doing that kind of stuff around this time of day. Kakashi then walked closer and closer until he realized who the couple he was hearing and froze in his spot. His eyes widened when he noticed two of his students getting it on. Holy shit. They are doing it all wrong. After everything we have been through and everything I have taught them, they decide to do the most boring position in the book. Kakashi thought of angrily and decided that it was time to become teacher again. Sasuke. Sakura. Stop what you are doing right this instant. Kakashi growled out as he marched over to his students while they had stopped their action and turned to see their angry teacher walking over to them. Kakashi. Sakura cried out as Sasuke quickly got off of her and zipped up his pants. Luckily for the couple, they were fully dressed except Sasuke had his pants and boxers slightly down while Sakura was wearing a skirt that day so her underwear was down to her ankles. What do you want, Kakashi? Sasuke spat out while the couple stood up from the ground after fixing their clothing. Sasuke stood protectively in front of Sakura while her gaze of fear was shown in her eyes. Well, I was in the neighborhood and heard some noise and I figured I would find out what that was. Didn't expect you two to be the ones that I heard. I must say that I am ashamed of you two. Kakashi said. I'm sorry Kakashi that we didn't tell you, but it just sorta happened and was afraid what everyone was going to think of us. Sakura said. No Sakura, that is not what I am ashamed of. Kakashi said while shaking his head. What are you talking about, Kakashi? Sasuke asked. I am ashamed that you guys are being old-fashioned. Kakashi said while both of the teens' eyes widened. Old-fashioned? Sakura asked while she glanced over at Sasuke while he shrugged his shoulders. Correct, Sakura. Sasuke, since you are an Uchiha, I would think you would have known some more moves than the missionary position. Kakashi said. Positions? Sasuke raised an eyebrow while Kakashi nodded his head. Correct, Sasuke. But thankfully for you two, I am an excellent teacher and I am good at this subject. Kakashi said while the pair were now really confused. Subject. Sakura thought. Stupid teacher. Ruining my alone time with my Sakura. Sasuke thought. Now with the help of my useful books. Kakashi said as he suddenly took out 5 of his Ika books out of his back pocket and showed it to his teammates. Why on earth does he carry that many books at once? Sakura thought. Sasuke thought. Quote. I shall help you guys to be more adventurous during your activities. Kakashi smirked out. What the? Sakura thought. More adventurous? Me and Sakura already are like that. Sasuke thought. That isn't necessary, Kakashi, you see. Sakura was then cut off by the older male. No explanations needed. I'm going to teach you guys to have a great life. Kakashi said while grinning underneath his mask. Shouldn't you be going on a mission or hanging out at a grave? Sasuke questioned him. I did that earlier and I am planning on going on a mini mission today, but this situation is far too important. Kakashi said while Sakura and Sasuke sighed out, knowing the torture they were about to endure and there was no escaping it. Exoxo. After a few hours later, Kakashi was walking down the street on his way to meet up with Naruto at the ramen bar. He felt very proud of himself of the lessons that he taught his students today. Hey Kakashi! Naruto yelled out as Kakashi walked up to the blonde who had finished up his bowl of ramen. Hello Naruto, I see you have found your ramen coupon. Kakashi said as he took a seat next to his student. I sure did. I forgot I had put it behind my headband so I wouldn't forget it. But I guess that plan didn't work out. Naruto said. Well, maybe you should put your coupon somewhere that will be easier to find next time. Kakashi said. Hey Kakashi. Naruto asked. What is it, Naruto? Kakashi raised an eyebrow at the frowning ninja. Have you seen Sasuke or Sakura? I figured they would be here by now to eat some ramen, but I don't see them anywhere. Naruto sighed out while Kakashi smiled behind his mask. Oh, I'm pretty sure they will not be joining us today. Kakashi said. How come? Do they have a mission or something? Naruto questioned out. No, not exactly. Naruto, not exactly. Kakashi stated while Naruto was completely confused. Kakashi, I have no idea what you are talking about. Naruto said. I wonder what Anko is doing right now. Kakashi thought to himself. Kakashi. Naruto screamed out so he could get the older male's attention. What is it, Naruto? You really should stop screaming. Well, see ya, Kakashi said, then disappeared in a puff of smoking, leaving the still confused Naruto behind. Exoxo. Sasuke and Sakura were still sitting in the middle of the woods where Kakashi had left them after his 4-hour talk about positions and the best places to set the mood with the help of his dirty books. We really need to stop having in public, Sakura said while she was staring out in the distance with an expression of fear and disturbed on her face. She really wished she didn't have to go through the torture that her and Sasuke just went through. Agree, Sasuke said while he was staring into the distance as well, trying to forget the memories that had plagued his mind now. It was a pretty eventful day at the Konoha hospital. Tsunade had just done her 5th surgery and figured that it was her break time. She began to walk over to where Sakura was going to be in her own little office. Tsunade decided that since Sakura spent so much time at the hospital, she could have her own office. Tsunade knocked on the door. Hold on a second. Tsunade could hear some noises on the other side after Sakura had yelled out to her. I wonder what is taking her so long. Tsunade thought, then looked down at her hand to see the big sake bottle that she had a grip on and smirked. Silly Sakura, always too busy with work and training to have some fun. This should help her relax, Tsunade thought to herself, but was then interrupted. Come in. Tsunade heard Sakura yelled out from the other side, so she opened up the door and walked into the room. She closed the door behind her and walked up to the pink-haired girl who was sitting behind her desk. Tsunade, can I help you with anything? Sakura said with a smile on her face, but Tsunade raised an eyebrow at the girl's appearance. Sakura's face looked a bit flushed and her shiny pink hair was a little messy while her lips were swollen. Sakura. Tsunade began to speak. Yes, Tsunade. Sakura asked with a calm expression on her face. What were you doing before I came into your office? Tsunade questioned the young lady while she was surprised. What makes you think that I was doing anything? Sakura asked out, trying her best not to panic, but suddenly, she felt something or a certain someone beginning to lightly lick her inner thigh, causing her to shiver. Thankfully for Sakura, her desk that she was currently sitting behind was big enough for Sasuke to hide under there without Tsunade suspecting a thing. Sakura, don't lie to me, I know exactly what you were doing before I came in here and I am disappointed in you. Tsunade shook her head. Oh, I am so going to die. Sakura thought, but then felt another lick and flinched again. Are you alright? You keep on flinching. Are you sick or something? Suand asked, but Sakura shook her head. I'm fine. But I don't know what you are talking about. Sakura lied. She knew exactly what the older blonde was talking about. She thinks. God damn it, Sakura. Take a good look in the mirror. Your hair is a mess, your lips are swollen, and you are red in the face. If anyone came in here right now and took a look at you, they would immediately know what you were doing. Tsunade growled out, then placed the bottle of sake down on the table while Sakura's eyes widened. I'm sorry, Tsunade. He appeared out of nowhere and damn, he is so tempting I couldn't help myself. Sakura mumbled out while looking down at her desk, being ashamed. It's alright, Sakura. I was just disappointed that you would start the party without me. Tsunade chuckled out while Sakura and Sasuke was shocked by her statement. Party? What is she talking about? Oh god, please don't tell me she wants a threesome or something. Sakura thought. Sasuke thought, but then he realized that he was getting bored and began to lightly nibble on Sakura's skin, causing the girl to lightly giggle. See, I am right, Tsunade pointed out. I'm sorry, Tsunade, Sakura said while trying her best to not laugh. No, it's okay if you are feeling the effect at the moment. I was hoping that you would still feel it since that was the reason why I came here today. Tsunade said. Wait, what? Sakura asked her mentor. Silly girl, you have been working so hard lately, so I decided I would show up here and help you become relaxed, but I guess you have started to do that without me. Tsunade chuckled once more. Doing what? Sakura asked, becoming nervous of what her answer would be. Oh, I think you know what. But where is he? Or did you already inhaled all of his essence? Tsunade smirked out while Sakura looked down and began to blush. Sakura was about to say that Sasuke was right underneath the table when Tsunade spoke out once again. But don't worry, thank God I decided to bring him along so we can both share him. Tsunade said while pointing to the sake bottle, and Sakura was unsure of what she was talking about, but then it registered. Sasuke on the other hand thought that there was another guy in the room and began to tense up. Sakura felt him and knew that he was getting the wrong impression. Oh, I get it, you thought that I had been drinking and was calling my sake bottle him. Sakura said loud enough for Sasuke to hear her. Mine. Sasuke thought, then began to nibble on her inner thigh some more. Well, yeah, unless you were doing something inappropriate in your office during work hours that I should be aware of. Quote. Tsunade glared at the pink-haired girl for a second. No. I had a pretty rough day and I decided to have a drink, but I finished my bottle before you came in. Sakura smiled sweetly at Suon, then she smiled back. I thought as much because I get red whenever I drink and my lips become puffy because they keep on touching the liquid. As for your hair, I'm not sure what the hell is up with your hair, but whatever. Now let's start drinking, Tsunade said as she took out 2 small cups that she had in her pocket and poured the 2 a drink. She shoved it to Sakura and ordered her to drink it. Drink, Tsunade said. No thanks, I think I'm pretty drunk as it is. Sakura lied while smiled politely. That is bullshit, Sakura. You can never be drunk enough, now drink. Tsunade ordered the girl and Sakura gave up and took her drink, but right as she was gulping down the liquid in the cup, Sasuke decided to have some fun of his own and moved her panties to the side and stick his tongue inside of her. Eep! Sakura screamed out right after she finished her drink while Tsunade was done with hers. I know, isn't this stuff great? Let's do another shot, Tsunade said as she poured them another glass and shoved it to Sakura while she was trying her best not to moan from the pleasure that the Uchiha was giving her. Quote. Sakura hissed out as she felt Sasuke's tongue leave her hole and went upwards to create even more pleasure for her. Haha, Sakura, I guess the sake you were drinking was shit compared to this, Tsunade said as she took another shot while Sakura did the same, but afterwards she felt her orgasm hit and let out a moan while shutting her eyes. I swear this stuff is better than. Don't you agree, Sakura? Tsunade asked her student, who only nodded her head in response. Great. Now we aren't leaving here until this bottle is done, Tsunade said as she poured them another glass while Sakura and Sasuke sighed out. Exoxo. By the time that the 2 women were done drinking, they were so drunk that they had been talking about rainbows for the past hour while poor Sasuke was still cramped up under the desk, between Sakura's legs. He kept on teasing her with his fingers and tongue, but she became so drunk that she hadn't noticed what he was doing down there anymore. You know what, Sakura? I think you should get laid, Tsunade slurred out while Sakura began to hiccup. Why? I get laid? Sakura snorted out. Yeah, right. I bet Shino will lose his virginity before you and all he cares about is bugs. Tsunade laughed while Sakura began to glare at the older woman. For your information, I am not a virgin. I even had before you came into my office, Sakura blurted out, but she didn't care, she was drunk. Haha, with Huli. Tsunade chuckled out, not believing a word that the pink-haired ninja said. No, with Sasuke, Sakura shouted out while she watched the doctor get out from her chair and started walking towards the door. TCH, you don't have to lie to me, Tsunade said. No, he is right underneath me desk. Right, Sasuke? Sakura looked underneath her desk, but her eyes widened when she noticed that Sasuke had fallen asleep on her legs. Yeah, right. Now I am going to go have hot with Itachi, Tsunade joked out as she opened up the office door. Wait, where are you going? Sakura demanded the woman. Break time is over, back to work, Tsunade said, then slammed the door behind her, waking up the sleeping Uchiha. Sasuke slowly got up from underneath the desk. Sasuke responded as he was slowly waking up. Nothing, Sakura mumbled out, still drunk and mad at the fact that Tsunade didn't believe her. Sai was sitting by the Team 7 bridge, thinking about certain things. One thing that he was debating on what to draw next. He looked down on his empty canvas and sighed out. He was thinking about drawing a picture of the water that was flowing underneath the bridge, but he just thought that it was too plain, and he looked up at the sunrise and was thinking about painting the sun rising, but he thought that it was too boring and had been done too many times already. Luckily for him, Team 7 wasn't supposed to be up until 12 in the afternoon, so he had plenty of time to think of something to paint. Sai sighed out once again and stood up after sitting on the railing and began to walk away. Over and over again he kept on thinking about what to paint. I could always paint of Lee and Guy doing some training together, not too weird even for my taste. Sai thought as he passed by the pair of males who were doing running exercises. Then he glanced at a barbecue shop that Choji was currently eating at. Drawing a picture of Choji getting more fatter than her already does not seem that appealing to me. Sai sighed out once again and kept on walking. A few more minutes of walking, he stopped suddenly when he thought of a great idea. I know. This is the best idea that I have had today. I will just go up to the Hokage's statues and find something to paint up there. I'm pretty sure that I will find something interesting up there to draw. Sai thought with a fake smile forming on his face, then began to make his way up to the Hokage statues. When Sai got up there, he was at peace with himself with the great idea that he had, and took out his canvas and was about to start painting a picture of a bird's nest that was laying around when he stopped suddenly and heard a groan noise. What the was that? Sai wondered as he then heard a female gasp out a male's name. A name that he knew all too well. Why is she moaning out his name? I guess she just misses him because he is too busy doing ninja stuff. Sai thought, but then realized something. Wait a second, I heard a male noise not too long ago, so does that mean that he is here as well? Sai thought, then walked to where the noise was coming from, and his eyes widened from the sight that was in front of him. What are those two doing? I guess it's some sort of technique that I haven't been taught yet. In that case, I shall draw a picture of this new technique. My teammates will be so proud of me when it is finished. Sai smirked out, then took out his canvas and began to paint while the couple was unaware that someone was watching them. Exoxo. After Sai was satisfied with his painting, he decided to drop his artwork at his home before going back to the Team 7 bridge. When he arrived at the bridge, he noticed that Sakura and Sasuke were already at their destination. Well, hello ugly, emo freak. Sai said with a fake smile on his face while both of his teammates silently growled out him. I am not ugly, Sakura thought. I am not an emo freak. I don't even listen to emo music, so I shouldn't be considered emo. Sure, I killed my brother and almost destroyed the village because I was so caught up in revenge and I acted like I hated the world, but that doesn't mean that I am emo. I personally like to consider myself as grunge because flannel shirts are very comfortable, but I don't have a drug addiction. Well, I am addicted to Sakura, so I'll just pretend that Sakura is a drug, so okay, yes, I am grunge. Sasuke smirked to himself. Good morning, Sai. Sakura tried to be as nice as she could be, but she was already in a great mood because of her morning session with Sasuke. I would like to inform you two that I had witnessed something very interesting today. Sai spoke out. We don't care. Sasuke simply spat out while having his eyes closed and his arms crossed. Oh, but I do think that you two would be interested in what I saw this morning. Sai said, which caught Sakura's attention. So, entertain us, what did you see this morning? Sakura asked. Well, I saw two very familiar faces this morning doing some very interesting things that I was not aware of. Sai said while Sasuke suddenly opened up his eyes while Sakura's eyes widened. Shit. Don't tell me that he caught us too. Sakura thought. Loser has nothing better to do than watch people each other's brains out. Such a pervert like Kakashi and Naruto and Jiraiya and Lee. Sasuke thought. You don't say. Sakura commented. Yes. It was something I have never seen a female and a male do to each other before, but I know that you two know what I am talking about. Sai smirked out with a fake smile on his face. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at his replacement. Yeah, you know what I am talking about, emo freak, and I even drew a picture of it. Sai chirped out. What? You drew a picture of it. Sakura screamed out while Sasuke glared at the mail. Yes, seeing that we have so much time left and you guys seem so interested, I shall go back to my place and bring it to our meeting so Kakashi and Naruto can see it as well. I'm sure they will find my painting quite amusing. Sai said, then vanished in a puff of smoke, leaving the couple behind. Sasuke began to grit his teeth together while Sakura walked up to the Uchiha. Sasuke. Sakura began to speak out. I know, but don't worry, we will destroy that painting. Sasuke said. But how? Sakura asked him while he turned his head and smirked at her. Don't worry, follow me. Sasuke said. Then they decided to go for a little walk together, trying to find where on earth did their teammate go off to, but then they both realized that they had no idea where he lived and no one else did, so they were screwed. Exoxo. It was now 12 in the afternoon and Sai walked up to the bridge with his painting in his hand and looked over to see an energetic Naruto, a depressed Sakura, a angry Sasuke and a pervert Kakashi who was reading his porn books. Sorry I'm late everyone, but I have painted a picture this morning of something very interesting. Sai said. Really? Why don't you show us what your painting is? Kakashi stated as he placed his book down. Yeah, I want to see your painting. Believe it. Naruto yelled out. Well, shouldn't we be training? Sakura asked. Or going on a deadly mission? Sasuke asked out. Who cares? I want to see the picture. Now Sai, show us what you drew. Kakashi said. Then Sai smirked to everyone that slowly removed the fabric that was in front of the painting. Shit. I'm going to be make fun of all day. Sakura thought. But wait a minute. If everyone knows about us, then we could start doing it whenever and wherever we want. Sasuke thought. God, I hope it's a painting of ramen. Naruto thought. I hope it's a painting of a couple having. Kakashi thought. Hee, I know that they will love my painting. Sai thought, then revealed the painting and everyone's eyes widen. What? Sakura thought. Sasuke thought. Naruto thought. Hell. Kakashi thought as they all stared at the painting of Anko laying on her back being while Kakashi was as well while being on top of her. Kakashi, I saw you earlier using this new technique and I thought that it was so interesting that I would paint a picture of it. Sai explained. Kakashi, why are you having with Anko? Naruto yelled out while Sakura and Sasuke both sighed in relief that it wasn't them that was painted on the canvas. Well, you see. Sasuke and Sakura are having. Kakashi yelled out while the couple's eyes widen. Haha, yeah, good one. Kakashi and me and Sasuke are going to have hot after this meeting. Naruto joked out while everyone else gave him the weird look. What? Naruto asked. Nothing. Sakura mumbled out as she looked away while Sasuke frowned out towards the male. Why are you a loser? Sasuke spat out. Well, I'm not a loser, but anyways, Kakashi, why are you having with Anko? Naruto yelled out. Well, guess what everyone, today's mission has been cancelled so you all can go eat ramen. It's on me. Kakashi smirked out. Hell yeah, come on Sai, Naruto said as he began to drag the artist away who was still holding on to his painting. Kakashi then looked over and noticed that Sakura and Sasuke were still in their spots. Well, don't you guys want some free ramen? Kakashi asked. Oh no, I think we need to teach you a lesson. Sasuke spoke out. About what? Kakashi asked. About the position that you were doing in the picture, it is all wrong. Sakura said. Oh no. Kakashi thought. Payback time. Sasuke smirked out as the torture began. Shizune was making her rounds all around the hospital. Thankfully for her, it wasn't that busy today like all the other days. She looked down at her clipboard and her eyes slightly widened at her next patent's name. Uchiha, Sasuke. I would had figured Sakura would want to treat his wounds. Shizune thought as she walked up to his door, but before she had the chance to open it up, she heard some sort of noise coming from the other side. What is that noise? Shizune thought as she put her ear up against the door. Oh god. Shizune's eyes widened when she heard the younger Uchiha from the other side of the door. What is the world is going on in there? Shizune thought, but then heard another noise. Right there. Oh. Shizune was beginning to worry about what was going on in the other room. Should I go in or should I wait? Shizune thought. Oh god, this feels so good. Shizune then figured it would be best to go into his room and knocked on his door. She waited 10 seconds before walking into the Uchiha's room. She walked in and looked around the room to see nothing wrong. Good afternoon, Mr. Uchiha. Tsunade wanted me to stop by after you coming back from your mission. Shizune said as she was reading her file on Sasuke. And it says here in your file that you have, oh my god. Shizune shrieked out and the file escaped from her hands when she had finally looked up at the Uchiha and noticed something big poking through from underneath the hospital blanket that was covering Sasuke from the waist down. Sasuke noticed her reaction and looked down on his lap and noticed that he still had an erection. Oh shit, Sasuke thought to himself as he tried to think of an excuse to come up with. I could say that I was fantasizing about killing my brother. No, that would make me seem like I'm into incest. Sasuke pondered out. Maybe I could say that I was thinking about beating Naruto's. Nah, she would probably think that I am gay. Sasuke frowned out. I guess I could just tell her the truth that Sakura was in on my before she began to knock on the door and is currently hiding in my bathroom. Sasuke thought. Shizune. Sasuke was then interrupted by the nurse. Mr. Uchiha, what are you hiding underneath that sheet? Shizune spoke out while pointing at Sasuke's erection, causing the Uchiha to have his eyes widen. Doesn't she know what this is? And she is supposed to be a nurse. Sasuke thought. Are you serious? Sasuke spat out while he tried to move a bit so he could hide his boner, but it wasn't really working. Yes, is that a bottle of sake that you are hiding? I keep telling Tsunade to stop giving our patients small bottles of sake. Shizune said as her hand was going towards Sasuke's private area. What are you doing? Sasuke hissed out while activating his Sharingan. Don't you dare use your Sharingan on me, mister. Now let me have that bottle. Shizune growled out. No. Sasuke said. Yes. Shizune said. No. Sasuke said. Yes. Shizune said. No. I swear it's not a sake bottle, now leave me alone. Sasuke growled out as he tried his best to move away from the nurse but was cornered. Because he was injured from his mission, he couldn't seem to manage to get out of the bed. Don't lie to me, Uchiha. What else could it be? Shizune said. It's my ing. Sasuke yelled out, loud enough for Sakura to hear them from the bathroom. What the hell? Sakura thought, then walked out of the bathroom. Sasuke looked up at Sakura and because he wasn't paying attention to Shizune, Shizune took the chance to grab what she wanted. There we go. Shizune said as she began to pull on the poking, causing Sasuke to groan and Sakura gasped out. Shizune. What are you doing? Sakura said as she marched up to the nurse. Oh, I guess this wasn't a sake bottle. Shizune mumbled out as her took her hand away and her face became bright red. That is an erection, Shizune said while the two teens rolled their eyes. Well duh. Sasuke spat out while crossing his arms. Sakura, what are you doing here? Shizune asked. I was. Sakura trailed off. None of you business. Sasuke growled out. Sasuke, don't be like that. Shizune, I was cleaning his bathroom when you had shown up. Sakura gritted her teeth. Oh, it's okay, Sakura. I can tell I walked in during his, Sasuke time. Shizune told the pink-haired girl. My what? Sasuke growled out. What's Sasuke time? Sakura asked. It's the time where men do their business, you know, to get their frustrations out. Shizune explained. Frustrations? Sakura asked. Business. Sasuke growled out. Yeah, you know, when guys need time to masturbate. Shizune explained, which caused both of the teens to have their eyes widen. What? Sakura asked out. Sasuke responded. There is nothing to be embarrassed about, it is a healthy thing to do. Shizune said. I wasn't pleasuring myself. Sasuke spat out. Yeah, Shizune. Actually, I lied. Before you came in, I was pleasuring Sasuke. Sakura explained. It's okay, Sakura. You don't need to make up excuses for the Uchiha. Shizune said while she bent down to pick up her file that was still on the floor. She isn't making up excuses. She was ing my. Sasuke said. Sasuke. Sakura hissed out. What? It's true. Sasuke mumbled out while he looked away, trying to hide the blush on his face. It's okay. You guys don't have to lie about this. Like I said, it's perfectly normal for Sasuke to get turned on, especially with all these nurses walking around. Shizune said. But we aren't lying, Shizune. Sakura tried to convince her, but it wasn't working. I know you like Sasuke, Sakura, but you don't need to defending him. Shizune said. But Sasuke was then interrupted. Now let's go, Sakura. We should leave him alone so he could finish his business. Shizune said as she grabbed Sakura by the arm and began to pull her towards the door. But Shizune. Sakura whined out, but it was no use. Shizune had dragged her out of the room, leaving Sasuke all alone in his room. When he heard the door closed, he looked back down at his boner, still being there because Sakura was in the room. Sasuke whispered out, then looked around the room and figured that Sakura wasn't going to be coming back for a while, so he put his hand down under the thin cover and closed his eyes. Suddenly the door swung open, revealing a hyperactive blonde. Hey Tem, I figured I would stop by and oh, what the air you doing? Kiba stared at the stars that had filled the black sky. He was currently participating in a mission along with Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto was off training with Jiraiya, so he couldn't make it, and Sai was being Sai, so he couldn't come, so Tsunade ordered Kiba to come with Team 7 to go to some village to retrieve a scroll. The mission went very well, but at one point they were attacked and Sakura ended up being slightly injured. Sakura had been cut in the back by a kunai, but it wasn't too much damage. They had to set up camp that night because she didn't have enough chakra to heal herself. Kiba was currently on guard near the campfire while everyone was resting in their own tents. This is the life. No hormonal Kurenai, no bug freak Shino, and no stalker for hyper blonde loser Hinata. Kiba thought to himself, then looked over at his dog who was also enjoying himself. Then he thought of something. Hey, I wonder if Sakura is up right now. I could smell her scent a lot stronger than Kakashi's, and wait a second, I can sense Sasuke's scent coming from Sakura's tent. Kiba thought as he got up from the ground and slowly made his way over to Sakura's tent, and his eyes widened when he began to hear some talking. What are you doing in here, Sasuke? Kakashi or Kiba could come by any minute. Kiba is currently on watch, you know. Sakura hissed out. I know, but how is your back feeling? Sasuke asked. Uchiha, he is going to try and get into her pants. Kiba thought to himself. It still hurts. I just wish I had some chakra left to completely heal it. Sakura whined out. Don't worry, Sakura. We will be at the village tomorrow, but in the meantime, I think I know a way to make you feel better. Sasuke growled out. What are you? Dadu. Sakura whispered out. Does it feel good when I do this? Sasuke asked. Ah. Sakura moaned out while Kiba was in shock. What the? How dare he put the moves on her when she is injured? Kiba thought. Would you like me to go lower? Sasuke asked. Don't, Sasuke. You should go back to sleep. We have a long day tomorrow and I don't want you to overwork yourself. Sakura said. It's okay. We can be quick and I could do this all night long and won't affect my abilities tomorrow. Sasuke commented. Ah. Sakura moaned out again. Is that a yes? Would you like me to continue? Sasuke asked out, then Sakura moaned again. Oh yes. God, I love it whenever your hands touch my skin, especially down, oh God. Sakura moaned out even more. What the? Uchiha, the emo bastard gets on a mission while I get to hang out with Akamaru. That is bullshit. Kiba thought to himself. Shut up, Sakura. I'm going to have to stop this if you keep on moaning like that. We don't want to get the others' attention. Sasuke spoke out. I'm sorry. I just can't help myself when you touch me like that. Wait, what are you doing with that? Sakura asked. I figured we could try something different for once. Sasuke said, then Kiba heard Sakura gasp out. Oh shit. Don't stop that, Sasuke. Sakura whined out. I'm glad you think that this feels good. Does this hurt? Sasuke growled out. Not at all. Saw Sasuke. Sakura moaned out. What is it, Cherry Blossom? Sasuke questioned her. Do you think you can go faster and a little harder? Sakura asked out. Wow. I guess Konoha's own little Cherry Blossom doesn't have a cherry anymore, and I wouldn't think she would like it hard and fast. Kinky. Kiba grinned to himself. Like this? Sasuke asked while panting out. Quote exclamation mark quote. Sakura hissed out. Shit. Her moans are making me get turned on. I have two choices. I could either go off somewhere and jack off while I imagine Sakura-ing me off, or I could ruin their little moment together. Kiba thought to himself for about a minute and was about to walk away and pleasure himself, but then he heard another soft cry coming from Sakura. Sasuke. Don't stop. Sakura cried out. That is it. I'm going in. Maybe if I interrupt, Sakura will realize that I am way better than that emo loser who spent all that time with that pedophile. I'll show her who could please her like a man should. Kiba thought to himself as he placed his hand on the zipper, and in one swift movement, he opened up the tent door and marched into the tent. Sakura. Don't have gay Uchiha give you a massage. Kiba trailed off as he was expecting to come into the tent with Sasuke pleasuring Sakura until she was going to come, but he was wrong. Dead wrong. Instead, Sakura was laying on the ground wearing only her bra and her shorts while Sasuke was massaging her back. There was a bottle of massage oil that was laying right next to them, which you could tell that Sasuke had placed some on Sakura's back but not where her cut was. Kiba, why the did you just barge in here? Sakura growled out as she sat up but winced when her back began to hurt again. Sasuke handed over her shirt and helped her put it on. Well, I heard some noises and Kiba was then cut off by the Uchiha. Why the hell were you listening to our conversation? Sasuke growled out. No, it wasn't like that. Kiba defended himself. Oh yeah, then what was it? Sakura asked as she crossed her arms and gave him a deadly glare. Oh shit. I'm so dead. She was trained under Tsunade and she kicked Mito the moon that one time I had walked in on her at the hot springs. It was so worth it seeing her huge titties. Kiba thought to himself while remembering the memory. Well, we are waiting, Sasuke said with a bored expression on his face while he snapped Kiba back into reality. I was not just thinking about Tsunade's. Kiba defended himself. What did you say about my teacher? Sakura growled out. Sasuke responded while raising an eyebrow at the brown-headed male. Nothing. I was just, well, the reason why I was eavesdropping was. Kiba trailed off while looking around and smirked to himself when he found something. Akamaru wanted to say goodnight to you, Sakura. Kiba lied through his teeth as he rushed out of the tent and picked up the sleeping Akamaru, woke him up, then carried him back into the tent. See, Kiba said as he handed the dog over to Sakura. Ah, Akamaru, did you want to say goodnight to me? Sakura hummed out while petting the dog. Sasuke glared at the dog because he was jealous of the attention that Sakura was giving to the animal. So Sasuke, what are you doing in here? Kiba asked out while crossing his arms. None of you business. Sasuke growled out as he also crossed his arms and glared at the male. Sakura was too busy playing with Akamaru to notice the fuming men. Ah, you are just too cute, Akamaru. Sakura chimed out, then placed the dog down on the ground. Well, it's getting late and I'm pretty tired. I think I'm going to go to bed now. Sakura yawned out. You want me to sleep with you? Kiba asked out while Sakura's eyes widened and Sasuke's eyes hardened. What did you just say? Sasuke hissed out. Shit. I meant like sleep in the tent with you so you aren't so lonely. Kiba said. It's okay, Kiba, but aren't you supposed to be on watch right now? Sakura asked out while everyone remained silent. Oh shit. Kiba yelled out, then ran out of the tent. Sakura shook her head and had thought of something and began to giggle, getting the Uchiha's attention. What? Sasuke questioned her. I was thinking back at what Kiba said when he first entered my tent. He called you a guy and you didn't even notice it. Sakura kept on laughing out while Sasuke thought about it, then turned on his Sharingan and walked out of the tent. Sakura laid on the ground and closed her eyes while snuggling with Akamaru, who didn't leave the tent, trying to ignore the noise from outside the tent. Oh hey Sass, holy shit.